Welcome to War Stories. War Stories is a hustle and grit podcast series sponsored by Treadstone Associates. Treadstone has worked with hundreds of businesses to help them dominate their industries. Our success led to the development of a simple 4-stage special ops program called the War Room. The War Room's mission objective is simple: build systems and processes with 3 goals: reduce expenses, increase revenue, and ultimately transform the business owner from a manager to a CEO, from a soldier to a general. Each of the 4 battles in the War Room focuses on a different aspect of your business, from accounting, operations, legal, and more. The foundation of each battle is the battle blueprint. The battle blueprint is a strategic plan prepared by a Treadstone general after evaluating your business's strengths and weaknesses. The battle blueprint includes specific, actionable steps to secure mission objectives. It is time to gather your troops and prepare for battle. For a limited time, you can receive Stage 1 battle blueprints for just $99. That is a $3,500 value. In addition, we are also waiving the fees for Stage 2, 3, and 4 battle blueprints. That is a $29,000 value for free. Click the link below to learn more and to schedule your free enlistment call today. Welcome to War Stories. My name is Umar. I'm the COA here at Treadstone. War Stories is a series dedicated to the art of war in business. For centuries, business owners have used the principles of war to guide business strategy. The goal of this series is to harness principles of war to grow and defend your business. We are doing a sub-series on starting your own business. Whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur or just getting started, this series is meant to help you explore opportunities. And as part of this series, we're meeting with franchise companies across Canada, offering unique opportunities to start a franchise business. So today we are learning about Boston Pizza franchises. Boston Pizza is a family staple in Canada. I know I grew up always visiting, and it's one of those places you feel like it's just part of our culture. It was founded in 1964 and now has hundreds of locations across Canada, Mexico, and the United States. Today's guest is Cailin White. Cailin is a National Franchise Development Director at Boston Pizza. Cailin has over a decade of experience working with major franchise brands. Currently, Cailin oversees Boston Pizza's franchise development across Canada. Welcome to the podcast, Cailin.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, I'm excited for this episode. I think Boston Pizza is one of those, like I was saying, it's just one of those staples. You feel like it's always been there. It's always been around.
Yes,
And
it's
and and
it's always a. Sorry, I was going to add to that. It's always amazing, how many people you meet all over the country, and countries even outside of Canada. That are like, oh my God, Boston Pizza, and they have so many great memories of dining with us. So it's amazing to see that we've become a part of so many people's lives in different ways.
and many people don't know. Maybe you can kind of inform our viewers that Boston Pizza is not originally from Boston, right? So,
No, no, yeah, I get that question a lot, and so we used to have this poster that hung in our office, and it said something along the lines of a Canadian brand with an American name, founded by a Greek sailor that serves Italian food. So and
nice.
that kind of sums up the origins of the brand. But yes, we are a Canadian brand, born and raised, and we actually didn't begin opening restaurants in the United States until the early 2000s.
Oh wow, I did not know that. I read a little background
Yeah.
before the podcast. I didn't know you guys expanded in 2000 to the States. So I think it's always kind of, to me, it was just it's a major company. They've always been everywhere, but now it's kind of interesting seeing that in it's fairly recent that you guys kind of expanded to the States as well. So I mean, today I wanted to go over. I mean, let's start at the beginning. Forget the. We'll talk about Boston Pizza later. Let's talk about you first. So tell our viewers why Boston Pizza. How long have you been there, and why Boston Pizza? Why did you pick to work with them?
Yeah, well, I've been involved, as you said, in my wonderful introduction. I've been involved in the restaurant industry my entire teenage and adult life. So, beginning my career working in restaurant operations and then moving into the franchising side of things. I've been with Boston Pizza for just recently, it was my 4-year anniversary. So it feels like a very
Congrats.
long time in a short time. Thank you all at once. But I was approached with the opportunity to apply for the role with Boston Pizza, and it was a no-brainer for me. I've always had a lot of respect for the brand as a consumer. Having spent many occasions with my family dining at Boston Pizza, but also in the franchising industry, it was always just the gold standard of franchising. Fantastic operations, fantastic marketing programs, fantastic franchisee supports, it's kind of funny to say this, but when I worked for other brands, when we were looking to develop in new marketplaces, one of the first stops we would make would be the local Boston Pizza to see if we could convince the
Wow.
BP franchisee to join our brand because we knew they were great. So there were a lot of things that attracted me to BP.
Oh wow, and it's interesting because now you see a lot of times in just corporate culture nowadays, people don't really stay at the same job for too long. There's always
Sure.
that desire to switch. So the fact that you've been with them for 4 years itself, I think, is a testament to something they're doing right to keep you with them as well, right? Because obviously, with your experience, there's a lot of doors open for you.
Yeah, well, thank you, and I would agree with that. And I actually probably have one of the shortest tenures within the greater organization, or especially my team. For example, our project manager, a wonderful woman named Sonia. She works out of our Vancouver office, and she just celebrated 20 years with the brand. Which is pretty
Wow.
incredible. But yeah, I mean, it's very apparent to me, or it was very apparent in the beginning, that Boston Pizza cares a lot about their team, not only the corporate employees, but the employees in our restaurants. And there are a number of folks who've been with the company for years and decades. So it's pretty incredible.
Wow. I mean, before we move on to kind of the details of the franchise too, I mean that also relates a lot to one of the principles in the War Room program that we have. Assembling your team is really about understanding how do you get the brightest talent and making sure that they're
Sure.
happy and you're aligning goals and you're keeping those people working with you and ensuring that they're happy, their needs are met. I think that's the what takes self
Yes,
awareness, because as someone gets more experience, the needs are not just dollar oriented, right? They're
absolutely.
intellectual. There's a lot more there that the person needs to feel fulfilled. So I think
Yes.
that itself, I think, is it's rare to find in a company that is able to meet those needs and keep people there for that long throughout their entire careers. Now,
I would
with
agree.
that segue, now let's talk a little bit about let's talk a little bit about the starting the journey in terms of obtaining a franchise with Boston Pizza. So how does that work? Let's say someone I want to talk about this from the perspective that someone who has no experience in the franchise world but may have capital and the sufficient resources to buy into a franchise, what they would need to do. So what is really the first step involved in approaching Boston Pizza?
Sure, yeah, and I mean the first step is just a conversation. We try to make ourselves very accessible. So first step is just reaching out and having a chat with one of our franchising managers or myself, just to talk about you. We want to learn about you, your background, your experiences, your goals, and then together we kind of explore, how can we fit. We want to help folks to learn all about our brand as they complete their own due diligence. That process involves, completing initial applications, sharing some information with us, speaking with some of our franchisees. But that's the early stages of what we call our discovery process. Folks are able to connect with us through resources like the Canadian Franchise Association, our own websites, LinkedIn, and of course, we're at lots of industry events. You can always find us at the franchise shows, the Restaurant Canada shows, and different events right across the country.
So I guess just starting a conversation in any capacity, whether it's at the
You got it.
okay. So
Yeah.
it's not as so it's you're saying have that informal introduction to the space, to the opportunity, to what's going on. Now let's say
Yes.
some now when you're when you're going through that stage of having that informal introduction, is there any circumstance where you'll think, okay, this person is not a good fit, and you'll inform them that they're not a good fit, and if so, why? Or is that typically kind of just introducing to the prospect of the idea and then move on to that formal application stage? I don't know if that question made sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, it does, and you know what, everybody's different, and every scenario is going to be different. I mean, unfortunately, there are times where we are not a good fit for one another. And if you think about it, kind of like dating, when you go on your first date with somebody, typically you will know in that moment, or in that meal, whether or not you want to see them again. And so folks might decide that hey, they don't like what we have to offer, and sometimes we might feel that unfortunately they're not a great fit, and the reasons why we would perhaps arrive at that conclusion is that we want everyone who works with us to be successful. And the restaurant industry is incredibly rewarding. It's a ton of fun, but it's still hard work. You're still running a business, and so we want to make sure that folks who become franchisees with Boston Pizza have the right stuff to be able to be successful. And so unfortunately that's not always the case. But that is the purpose of our discovery process, is so we can get to know one another and see if there is a future together for us.
Makes sense. And in terms of let's say the formal application stage, how does that look? So let's say someone is interested in exploring the opportunity more, and now they want to take that next step forward, go on that second date or third date or whatever it might be.
Yeah, no, great question. And so after the initial conversation, if we feel there is some chemistry there, we'll call it, and we would invite someone to complete the application form, and that's just really sharing kind of basic details with us. We want to get a sense of operational skill sets, personality, markets of interest, timelines, but also financial capabilities. So getting into Boston Pizza, or getting into opportunities with Boston Pizza, of course, requires a financial investment. So we want to make sure that we're within the realm of possibility, and there are different opportunity styles that folks can become involved with Boston Pizza through, and so different, call it, categories in terms of financial requirements. But that helps us just to kind of assess where we're at, and provide our candidates or prospective franchisees with the best information and support that's really tailored to them.
Okay. Okay. So there's a lot kind of, I guess, during that formal stage, there's a lot going on. I was just trying to make notes on the categories so we can explore each of them individually. So you have
Yeah,
that the discovery process. You're going to that second stage. So personal characteristics. I like that you mentioned the operational experience, just so that it's something that we can explore, so that people can understand what that
sure.
means. Because I know that's often misunderstood because it's a broad term. So, what would you say is operational experience? Is it narrow? Do you want someone who has restaurant experience, or are you looking for something that exemplifies character traits or knowledge?
Yeah, and I think it's more towards the character traits, and call it the soft skills. So certainly having restaurant experience is very helpful. You have a sense of what goes on in the industry and in the world of hospitality. But at the end of the day, teaching somebody how to make a pizza is the easy part, right? And ultimately what we look
Hmm.
for in a fantastic franchisee, and when we talk about the soft skills or the character traits, and first and foremost, we want someone who is going to be a fantastic ambassador for the brand. And so if you think about it, each one of our franchisees in their local markets represent Boston Pizza to their guests, to their community. When someone goes to have dinner at Boston Pizza, they're not thinking about me. They're perhaps not thinking about Jim Treliving. They're thinking about the team in the restaurant that they're in that moment. That's Boston Pizza to them. So it's very important to us that each one of our franchise partners is an excellent ambassador for the brand. That, in my opinion, involves great leadership skills. So, within a Boston Pizza restaurant, you might have 60 to 80 employees, which is a pretty big number of people. And these people will have all different levels of experiences. Some folks might be, young and it's perhaps one of their first jobs. Some folks could, be 20 years in the industry and, be a seasoned pro. You're going to be working with all different kinds of people, and having those strong leadership qualities are very important. Business acumen is very important as well. So, it could be that you have corporate business experience. Perhaps you owned a different type of business outside of the restaurant industry previously, but the ability to, understand financial data, to create forecasts, to plan and execute local marketing, while you are partnered with a franchisor, and there's tremendous benefit that comes from that. At the end of the day, you still own and operate a small business. So those are the big pillars for us, are those leadership skills, the ability to be an ambassador and represent the brand, business acumen, and you have to like people. I often say as well, I'm full of analogies, but I often say that the restaurant business or the hospitality industry is a people business, and we serve food. So, folks are coming to Boston Pizza because they want to have an amazing experience, not just something great to eat. So the ability to create that culture and that environment with not only your team, but your guests, those soft skills, those people skills, very important in our business.
100%. I think well said too, because the just the idea, even for seasoned entrepreneurs, understanding and grasping that it's a vague concept what entrepreneurship really entails. And I think at its core, it is what you said in
Sure.
every capacity. It is people skills, right? Because like you were
Yeah.
saying, leading that team or the customers coming in, whoever else it is, you need to make sure they're happy, make sure that you're doing the things that are, or putting the systems and processes in place to make sure that the business is running efficiently as well, right? So that
Yes.
kind of, I guess, speaking of systems and processes, so that's what I guess, it bridges the gap between there's only one you and there's a million things you need to do, right? So
Yeah.
what would you say, in terms of, coaching or training? Let's say someone has acquired a franchise, or actually Backspace. We'll jump to that later. I forgot to go through one of the details. Money. So before we get to that, so tell us a little bit about what financials would be kind of important for someone who's looking to invest in a Pizza franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it depends on the opportunity that you are pursuing. So let's say we are talking about, building a brand new Boston Pizza restaurant. So if we are building the building, the furniture, the equipment, the soft costs, everything you need to open the doors, you're going to be in the neighborhood of about 2.5 million. And so what we look for in that scenario would be a net worth of about $2 million. And access to liquid capital of about 35% of the project cost, which would be about 800,000. So that's call it scenario one. Scenario two would be what we call a conversion opportunity. So this could be either an existing building, perhaps it was a restaurant previously, or even a retail space. We can reuse some of the existing infrastructure. That helps us to reduce that capital budget. And bring the investment down a little bit. The other type of conversion could be, let's say you own Cailin's Fish and Chips and you want to improve your work-life balance, improve your operational systems, access national marketing programs, and just plain make more money. In that scenario, it would be very dependent upon the business itself, but the investment and the time it takes to come to market is considerably less. And then the last scenario could be, perhaps you're interested in exploring the purchase and sale of an existing Boston Pizza restaurant. So, there could be a franchisee in our system who is ready to retire and, play golf in Florida or whatever the case may be, and they've decided to sell their business. There is opportunity from time to time to acquire a BP restaurant in that capacity. And it would depend on what the business is priced at, we'll call it, or the investment level to acquire that business. So it's really, kind of a tiered structure. And I always say to folks in those initial conversations, this is why the application form is so important. It helps us to get to know you, helps us to understand the investment range that you are comfortable with. And then we can talk about opportunities that are a good fit for you. And an additional, call it growth mechanism for us, while we're talking about investment categories, would also be within hotels. And so that's something that's, become very popular in recent past. We have about 25 restaurants within hotels or associated with hotels. And so for hotel owners, it's, a great way to, improve their business by adding Boston Pizza to their property. And so oftentimes in those scenarios, we again would look to utilize some existing infrastructure, and that brings down that initial investment pretty considerably. A long answer to your question, but there are lots of different scenarios.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm gathering there's a lot of other price points as well, or capital requirements. But from a baseline perspective, someone who's looking to build from scratch, 2.5 million net worth, $800,000 liquid cash upfront is generally, I guess, the idea there. And then for the viewers who don't, I guess one question kind of comes up too. So let's say someone's looking to buy an existing franchise. Is it better
Sure.
to go to their bank first and get a pre-approval for a loan amount, or target or speak to a commercial realtor directly who may be representing a sale, or do they have to go through head office directly as well, or first? So how should they approach that situation?
That is a great question. So depending on the scenario, and as we talked about a moment ago, net worth for a new construction could be about $2 million. If you were exploring opportunity to acquire an existing restaurant, though those call it goalposts change a little bit depending on what the overall investment is. It could be that net worth requirements would be between about 1.5 to 2 million, depending on the investment. And so, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of numbers, a lot of information. And so that's why we always encourage folks to start with us. You're going to end up with us anyway.
Okay.
So it's always best to, to reach out to us first, and we can guide you through the process. So we have relationships and programs with all of the major lenders. And so we want to work together with our prospective franchise partners to make sure that they have all of the information they need. They have developed their business plan. They have created, their own projections. They have checked all the boxes before they approach the bank. So we're going to help them through that process to make sure that they are ready. They have the appropriate contacts. They're accessing our program before they reach out to the bank. Sometimes folks will hear about opportunities to acquire an existing restaurant through a broker, and it is absolutely okay to reach out to that broker, to reach out to that realtor, to kind of talk about, how do I get the process started? How do I learn more? But you will always end up kind of back in our hands to talk about how the process works and walk you through those steps.
Okay, makes sense. So in terms of so just to just for context, or to recap, uh, Boston Pizza has access special programs at the big banks for lending, which
You got it.
given our extensive commercial real estate practice with Treadstone Law, one thing I can say is when you're going in with a company like Boston Pizza, as opposed to independently approaching the mortgage advisor or the commercial lending team, can have a positive impact on your application too. So that itself is probably a
Absolutely.
reason to go directly to head office. So in terms of down payments, when you're looking at buying an existing, do you have any information on that? How much you think of the purchase price the individual would need in cash?
Yeah, absolutely. And another great question, and something that we talk about pretty frequently. We always want folks to come in with about 35% of the total project cost. So whether you are acquiring an existing restaurant, you're adding BP to your hotel, you're building brand new, we feel that's just a really kind of call it comfortable place to be when it comes to debt servicing, and not getting yourself into a position where you're over leveraged. We want money going in your pockets versus the bank. So if you come in with about 35% and you're borrowing no more than about 65% from the bank, it's a good place to be.
Makes sense. You don't want also being over leveraged. I mean, it's your uh, mentally you're not you lose clarity too. I think it's taking advice
Yeah,
from those that have been successful in growing and building Boston franchise locations. You guys understand what the right amount of leverage is for that particular type of business, right? So I think it's a good benchmark for people to have and know as well
for sure.
when they're doing that. So now let's move on. Now let's say you have someone has acquired a Boston Pizza. So I don't
Mhm.
know if this is making it official, moving it together, getting engaged, married, whatever stage of that journey it is. But let's say they're married. It's marriage. Okay, so now they've acquired a Boston Pizza, and the person is starting off. So this is day one. So tell us a little bit
Sure.
about what that first week or month or however initial period of training or support, what that looks like.
Yeah, yeah. And so the training program actually starts before even day one. So we want to make sure that you are ready to go before you even step foot into your restaurant. So whether it be new construction or acquiring an existing restaurant, you're going to complete a 4-week training program. We call it our hospitality leadership training program. So it's of course teaching you the fundamentals of how to operate the equipment, how to execute the menu, but a big focus on leadership. So, again, culture and environment, and our teams are so important in our business that we spend a lot of time focusing on that through our training program. So, you're going to spend 4 weeks with us in our training center, which is in Mississauga, Ontario. And then from there, if you are moving into a scenario of you're building and opening a brand new Boston Pizza restaurant, we are going to send our team of trainers out to you in your brand new restaurant, and they're going to spend 4 weeks there training all of your hourly employees, all of your team members. So 2 weeks before the restaurant opens, 2 weeks after. So for our new franchise partners and their key managers as well, their kitchen manager and their general manager, it's going to be a total of 8 weeks of training. For the hourly employees of the team within the restaurant, they're going to receive 4 weeks of training. In a scenario where you are acquiring an existing restaurant and the team is already there, the staff are executing already on a day-to-day basis, you are going to complete that 4-week training program. And then when you move into your restaurant, we are going to send our team of trainers there to spend a week with you after you take over the business. So once all of that initial training is complete, you have ongoing support in a couple of different areas. The first would be our online learning platform. So we call it BP Learning. We also have a tool called the Boston Link, which is like our own internal intranet where there are tons of resources and so on available. So those tools are always being updated, new information provided, and they're always going to be there for you and your team members. You also have the support of what we call our ROM, our regional operations manager. So every restaurant has a ROM. This regional operations manager is going to visit you periodically, spend time working with you on new programs, and they're also available whenever you have a question. You can call them, you can connect with them in a number of different ways, depending on kind of what your needs are. And then there's a whole, kind of tiered structure when it comes to the operational team in terms of senior operations managers, directors of operations, and that's just one department. We have a fantastic and very large marketing team as well, who work very closely with our franchise partners on a number of different programs. And then, of course, departments like food services, sourcing, and the development team, to talk about growth opportunities, etc. So, one of the many amazing things about our brand is that we are a franchisee brand in that, in our nearly 380 restaurants across Canada, 2 of those are corporate restaurants. And only because they are our
Right.
training facilities. And so all of the, hundreds of people behind the scenes are all here to support our franchisees.
Wow. So a lot of support both initially and then
A
also
lot of
um,
support.
yeah, no, so that's helpful. I mean, it takes a lot of I think the stress of running a business, or at least some of it, away. You have to expect some stress always, but but I think it helped you
Yes.
have that person, that Cailin that's there. I don't know if it's you, but it's likely someone else as well. Are you part of that team as well, or do you provide ongoing support, or are you involved only in the ongoing process?
I like to think that, we
Okay.
build relationships that will stand the test of time, what we'll call it. But I'm very involved, through all of the initial process. In fact, we have weekly phone calls with all of our new franchise partners as they're going through the process to, check in, to work on, any tasks that we have to get them ready for takeover or for opening day. And then from there, future forward, yeah, I mean, you're going to hear from me all of the time. I want to, to continue to be involved with our franchise partners, and it's more specifically, folks would reach out to me to discuss growth opportunities. Call it the boots on the ground team when it comes to support is primarily going to be our operations team, which is a department I'm not involved in directly, as well as
Mhm.
training, marketing, etc. So you're going to get a lot of me, in the beginning and through that, call it onboarding process. And then from there, I as well am only ever a phone call away.
Awesome. So let's say the owner has now gone through that process. 8 weeks training is complete. Now they're running their business. Now, two questions. First part of the question, tell us a little bit about costs. So, what are the ongoing costs? So, the franchise fees for when the business has established, and then
Mhm.
also in terms of, you already answered the second question actually. So, not that's not something I was going to ask. What is the ongoing training? But you have the support, the regional manager, the online platform,
You
all
got
the
it.
different departments. Everything is there. So, just tell us about the cost then.
Yeah. So the initial franchise fee, it's a one-time fee of $60,000. And so that fee essentially grants you your 10-year term of franchise agreement. And the only ongoing fees payable to Boston Pizza are the royalty, which is 7%, and the National Marketing Fund, which is 3%. So it's a total of 10%. The very unique and amazing thing about Boston Pizza, and I believe we actually are the only full service restaurant brand who does this, but we don't collect royalty or advertising fund contributions on alcohol sales. So that 7 plus 3% is only collected as part of food and non-alcoholic beverage sales. So it's just something that, Jim Treliving, our chairman, our founder, felt very strongly about, and it has continued, over these near 60 years. Just something that we do to, to help increase franchisee profitability and, make sure that, something's going back to them as well.
Awesome. So 10%, and then of course, as you mentioned, nothing not collected in the alcohol sales. Now,
You got it.
um, that covers, I mean, the beginning part of the journey. Now there's a second stage. So we went through the dating phase, the marriage, and now is there a prospect of children? Now the question is, can can someone own more than one franchise? Is my question. So, is that something that happens in your in at Boston Pizza, or are you guys kind of focused on you should have one location?
Yeah, no, it's something that we encourage. We love fostering that growth of our franchise partners and seeing their family expand. We have a number of franchise partners that have 10 plus locations, and
Oh wow.
especially in Western Canada. Yeah, especially in Western Canada where the brand is older. We actually very recently at one of our conferences celebrated, called the Boston Pizza Lifetime Achievement Award. One of our franchise partners was celebrating 52 years as a
Oh
Boston
wow.
Pizza franchisee, which, I mean, how incredible, right? And so, he is a franchisee, his brother is a franchisee, his son is a franchisee. And so, seeing that multi-generational, BP partnership, I think is pretty incredible. But to answer your question more specifically, yes. I mean, we love to see our franchise partners grow. We encourage it. There are different programs in place to help support them through that growth. But yes, large concentration of multi-unit franchisees. And, for some folks, It's an amazing strategy to grow their personal portfolio. Some folks might decide that, hey, one restaurant is enough for me, and that's absolutely okay as well.
Right. So it's tons of potential, and in 52 years. So
Absolutely.
that's 1970 around. So isn't that around when
Yeah.
Boston Pizza was founded? I think it was like the 60s or 65 or something.
64. Yeah,
Okay.
1964. So not long after.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that covers. I mean, so that covers the journey, the growth, what the potential is after you join Boston Pizza, and the potential for growth after that first location as well. So now to go back to the beginning, let's if any of our viewers want to get this process started, what should they do? Should they send you a LinkedIn request, an email? Where can or should they contact through the Boston Pizza website? What's the best place?
Yeah. The best place to start would probably be our website because there's a whole lot of information there. There's no wrong way to connect with us. We as I mentioned at kind of the top of the conversation, we're involved in a lot of different organizations, a lot of events, a lot of platforms. But our franchising website, bostonpizzafranchise.com, is a great place to start. So there is information available there in terms of marketplaces that are available, the history and origins of the brand, as well as contact details in a form that you can fill it really simply to have somebody reach out to you. We are also a member of the Canadian Franchise Association. You can find us on their platform as well. LinkedIn, you can reach us through my contact page directly, as well as our Boston Pizza franchising page. And there you can find all of the resources, phone numbers, email addresses, website address, etc. So we're pretty accessible, and you can just plain old fashioned Google search Boston Pizza franchise, and all of that stuff's going to come up.
Awesome. We will also drop the links in the bio for bostonpizzafranchise.com where you can get
Amazing.
details. And if do you have any final words as we conclude the episode?
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure to chat today. I was really excited to come on and have this conversation. I could talk about Boston Pizza all day long. And so I love when people give me the opportunity to. What I will say is that, while we are a mature brand in that, we have been around for nearly 60 years, we still have a whole lot of growing to do. One of the many things that is so amazing about Boston Pizza is that we really are like four experiences under one roof. And I say that because you have our sports bar, you have our dining room, you have our takeout and delivery platform, and you have our patio. So because we are so many things to so many people, we do very well in a variety of markets. So, those marketplaces of, 5,000 people, or, somewhat rural or remote. We are in Yellowknife, we are in Whitehorse, we are in, many remote parts of the country. And we do really well because we have such a broad demographic appeal. So, again, we are a mature brand, but I like to think of us as still an emerging brand because there are so many markets left for us to grow into. So, if you were exploring Boston Pizza online and you don't necessarily see, a marketplace of interest listed there, we've got an open mind, and we hope that you do too. And, we're excited to have a conversation and get to know you and explore, markets, opportunities, all of the many things that we've got going on.
Awesome. That was a great note to end off. Tons of opportunities. Cailin, I want to thank you for joining us. I think this was a very valuable and helpful episode for our viewers. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
War Stories is a hustle and grit podcast series sponsored by Treadstone Associates. Treadstone has worked with hundreds of businesses to help them dominate their industries. Our success led to the development of a simple 4-stage special ops program called the War Room. The War Room's mission objective is simple: build systems and processes with 3 goals: reduce expenses, increase revenue, and ultimately transform the business owner from a manager to a CEO, from a soldier to a general. Each of the 4 battles in the war room focuses on a different aspect of your business, from accounting, operations, legal, and more. The foundation of each battle is the battle blueprint. The battle blueprint is a strategic plan prepared by a Treadstone general after evaluating your business's strengths and weaknesses. The battle blueprint includes specific, actionable steps to secure mission objectives. It is time to gather your troops and prepare for battle. For a limited time, you can receive Stage 1 battle blueprints for just $99. That is a $3,500 value. In addition, we are also waiving the fees for Stage 2, 3, and 4 battle blueprints. That is a $29,000 value for free. Click the link below to learn more and to schedule your free enlistment call today.